What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Between the Lines Sports Podcast. We are your host. I'm Blair. This is Patrick. Today we're going to be going over the Power 5 conference championships this upcoming weekend. Talk a little bit about those, talk a little bit about the college football playoffs, and talk about maybe some bowl games, and then a little bit of a playoff scenarios with certain games happening this weekend and how they'll determine the rankings and it's that nature, and then a little bit of NFL games as well. First thing I got is the Pac-12 championship, Washington Oregon rematch. First one was a really good game, ended up being a shootout. I actually think Oregon's going to win. I think they're playing really good right now. I think Bo Nix has had a phenomenal year. He's kind of made himself. I think he was going to be a first-round draft pick last year, if not pretty early, second or third. But I think this upcoming draft he'll be a first-rounder. He's played really good. They've played really good since that Washington loss. They've kind of turned it on. Went to another gear and really never left any of these games in doubt. They beat Washington State, Utah, USC, Oregon State, who were all ranked teams at the time. So, looking at it now, I think Washington is good, but I just got a feeling that Oregon's going to edge them out.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on most of it. Oregon is playing great right now. I mean, they really haven't had a close game since the Washington game. Washington struggled this past week to even get past Washington State. It's a rivalry game and all that kind of stuff, but they had to convert a crazy 4th and 1 in their own territory just to get down to kick a game-winning field goal. So Oregon, they're just playing too good right now. I don't see a way that Washington can beat them. Now, Washington's 12-0 and is a good team, so I don't imagine it'll be a blowout, but I just think Oregon, especially having already lost to them, it's hard to beat a good team twice. So I think that Oregon will find a way to win. That defense is just too good. And like you said, Bo Nix, I mean, if he has a good performance here, he probably will lock up the Heisman, even though Jaden Daniels has had a great season. Bo Nix gets the benefit of playing one more game, and if he puts up a strong performance here, I'd say the Heisman's probably his.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think a lot of people kind of overlook him in that category. A lot of people are saying Jaden Daniels, and some people are even saying running back for Mizzou and McCarthy for Michigan. It helps when your team is winning. That's one thing that we've learned over the years, that when your team is doing well and you're doing well, you kind of have an advantage over those who have a few losses on their record. But yeah. All right, next one is the Big 12 championship, Oklahoma State and Texas. Looking at it now, Texas is a 15.5-point favorite. I don't think they're going to cover that, but I do expect Texas to win. And I think with them winning, it's going to make the playoff selection a lot more interesting, also pending some other results. But I mean, they're throwing their 2 cents in with a win this weekend, and a strong win over Alabama for a non-conference game, and only the one loss on the year if they come through this weekend. But yeah, I think they'll win, but I think it'll be closer than that 15.5.
Yeah, I think it'll be close too. Oklahoma State has kind of lost some perplexing games. Um, they got drilled at UCF 45-3 the week after they beat Oklahoma, and they've also lost at home to South Alabama. But then they've got some impressive wins too. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're a solid team. I think Texas will win, probably be in control of the game for the majority of the time, especially with Ewers back and the way they can move the ball. I don't see Oklahoma State being able to beat them, but for the chaos scenario or for the best scenario to happen as far as watching the rankings Sunday, you need Texas to win, because if they lose, that'll make it a lot easier for the committee. So
Yeah.
I just see a way that Oklahoma State can beat them. I mean, I don't know. They've had some shocking results this year after that South Alabama game. You didn't think they would ever do what they've done, but we'll see what happens. But I think Texas will win pretty easily.
All right, next one is the Big Ten championship. We have Michigan versus Iowa. Look, let's say last I checked, it was like a 20-point favorite. Yeah, they're a 21.5-point favorite. I don't think they're going to win by that much. they will win. It'll be by 2, maybe 3 scores, like 17, something like that, unless they score late. But I would just can't score points with them, I don't think. I mean, Michigan might blow them out. I could see that, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it'll be a little bit closer. Iowa always seems to have kind of closer games for whatever reason, like 17-13, just kind of a Big Ten brawl, with the exception of Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State over the last 5-6 years or so. But yeah, I think they'll win, kind of solidify their spot in the playoffs, and get ready for that.
Yeah, I would love Iowa to win just because I don't know. I think Michigan's boring, and it would make it more dramatic. But I just don't see a way Iowa probably even scores more than one time. I watched that entire Iowa-Nebraska game this week, and it was beautiful to watch, but it was rough as far as points.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Iowa's point total for the first half is literally 0.5. So that means if they do anything like kick a field goal or anything, you win that bet. So I saw that today. Just
Guess
I
I
don't
know
know.
what I'm
Michigan's playing really well. It's. I mean, if I was going to bet it, I would probably take the under. I mean, I don't
You
know.
don't
I
think
was saying for the first half for Iowa to not score, yeah. I mean, unless Michigan makes a mistake, there's just no way they're going to move the ball enough. I mean, Michigan's defense is ridiculous, and Iowa's playing like a four-string quarterback that weighs like 270 pounds and is about as mobile as me. So I don't think that they're going to be able to move the ball. I mean, I would love for them to. I don't see a way that they do, and probably I will probably be able to maybe stop them the first couple times, but with their defense constantly being on the field, Michigan will probably wear them down eventually and probably win the game pretty handily.
All right, next one is the ACC championship. We have number what are they? Number 10 Louisville, right? Or no, what are they now? Number 14 Louisville
14.
versus number 4 Florida State. Florida State, obviously, without Jordan Travis, who big piece of their offense, quarterback. I don't know if he was necessarily having a Heisman type year, but the undefeated. Clearly, if he was healthy and they won this game, I think they would for sure be in the playoffs. But now without him being in there, throws in some kind of question marks if they can score with these other teams that are potentially going to be in the playoffs. And it's kind of been about like getting the 4 best teams, which really you could argue every year they really haven't. If you think like on paper this is the best team, not just basing it off records and wins and losses, but I don't know. Florida State's favored by 2.5. I've got a weird feeling Louisville's going to catch them. Just coming off that loss to Kentucky, they're either going to be mad and try to prove a point and ruin somebody else's season, since theirs kind of got ruined with that, kind of ruined their chances of getting in the playoffs with one loss. And I don't know. I've just got a weird feeling about it. I think they're going to edge them out.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that this is a really tough spot for Florida State. Louisville has played really well all year, above their head, really, for a lot of points. And that rivalry game against Kentucky, I don't really think plays into this as much. I mean, I think that it's going to be a close game. Even if Florida State wins, I think it'll be close. But I kind of like Louisville to win too. But I will say that luckily Florida State helped make my prediction come true that Florida doesn't go to a bowl game. So Florida's sitting there.
I was stuck between that this past weekend of wanting Florida State to lose so they would be out of the playoffs, but also I wanted them to win because I didn't want Florida to be in a bowl game. So, but I guess it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, it worked out. It was good. So, suck at Florida. And Florida State found a way. I mean, I don't know. They might be able to find a way in this game, too. I don't know. Their defense is really good. They got a strong defensive line. Their offense has still got some playmakers. If that Rodemaker guy isn't too bad of a quarterback either, he's pretty decent backup. So, we'll see. Hopefully, I expect this to be probably one of the better games of the day. I think it'll be close. And I can see it going either way, but I'd like to see Louisville win just to see some chaos happen. So, we'll see.
Next one and last Power 5 championship is the SEC championship, Alabama versus Georgia. Georgia is a 5.5 point favorite. Look, I'm going to tell you this now. Georgia's the number 1 team right now. They're undefeated, 12-0. Alabama's number 8, 11-1. It's going to go one of two ways, and it's I think call it what you want, fix football, not fix football. But I think if the committee or college, NCAA, whatever, wants Alabama in, Alabama's going to win. And Georgia's going to drop to the 2 seed. Alabama's going to be the 3 seed and set them up to where they wouldn't have to play each other again right away, but a possible rematch in the national championship. I think Georgia's going to win. I just think their defense and just the pieces they have on offense, just their depth has been insane this year. Just, when one guy goes down, next man up. I think they're going to cause some trouble for Milroe, which we kind of did that for Milroe in that first half. We just didn't have a very good second half against him, and he found some weak spots in our defense. But I want to say Georgia's going to win, but deep down, I know how the world works. If they want Alabama in the playoffs, then I think Alabama will win, because I think if they win, they're going to put them in somehow, and both of them will be in.
Yeah, I want Alabama to win and Georgia to end up being the 5 seed, so that they don't get in. That'd be great. That'd be the best thing that could happen.
Do you really think
But
if Georgia lost, they would drop them out?
I would hope that they would, but they probably won't. I think that if that was the case, then they would put Alabama like at 3 and make Georgia 4. I don't think you could justify putting Georgia ahead of Alabama if Alabama beat them. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I hope that Alabama wins. I don't really have faith that they can. I don't know. I just think when it comes down to it, Georgia's the best team, unfortunately. So I don't see Alabama winning. I hope they do. And like I said, I hope they pound them so that they drop Georgia all the way to 5, and that would be the greatest thing ever. Aside from Tennessee doing well, I mean, seeing Georgia be out of the playoff would be great. But I don't know. Georgia's probably going to win. I'd say they're probably going to cover too. I just don't think Alabama's consistent enough. I think Milroe might give him some problems early, like scrambling and that kind of thing, because he's really good at that. If I was Alabama, I would run 4 verticals every single play, and I would just have him scramble every single play, because that's exactly what they did against Auburn until the last drive when they couldn't do it in the red zone, and it's just impossible to stop. The guy's a freight train. He's like a running back that can throw the ball. So I don't know. I don't have faith that Alabama can keep it close. I hope they do, but I just see that Georgia is probably going to win this and probably cover the spread. But I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through some scenarios here. So let's just say Washington, Oregon, whoever wins that is in, right? Can we agree on that? Like Washington's 3, Oregon's 5. I think whoever wins that one will be in.
Yeah, whoever wins, that's in.
So that's one spot. Michigan is going to win. That's another spot. So that's 2. So then you have Georgia, who's number 1, Florida State, who's number 4. Then you have Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama, who are really kind of there in the picture to make it in, unless just a lot of crazy stuff happens. Let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say Texas wins, so they're 12-1. Ohio State's 11-1. Let's just say Georgia beats Alabama, so Alabama would be eliminated at that point. So Georgia would be in, so that would be a third team. And then you have Florida State. If Florida State wins, do you think they're in, regardless?
They're 100. Florida State's 100% if they win. If they're 13-0, it doesn't matter if their backup's playing or not. I mean, they'll get absolutely slaughtered by Georgia, but they deserve to be in because they went 13.
Yeah.
So if Florida State wins, like if Florida State wins, no matter what the scenario is, they're number 4. If Florida State wins and Oregon wins, they might move Florida State to 3 and put Oregon at 4. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Assuming Georgia wins, just bump Florida State up 1 and Oregon up 1, and then drop Washington to like 8, probably.
Washington probably dropped to like 5 or 6. I think that Washington would probably drop to 5. They don't deserve to be behind Ohio State, even though they would have, because they would only have 1 loss. So I don't know. I just don't think. I think Oregon's the best chance for someone to beat Georgia. So I would love for them to have a month to get ready, because they're almost exactly like Ohio State was last year, but their defense is better than Ohio State was last year. So I think they're their best shot. So I would love to see them have to play Georgia in the semifinal as opposed to the championship where they only have a week to prepare. So that way maybe we can have no SEC team in the championship. But I don't know. I think that they both win, then Florida State would move up, and Oregon would be the 4.
Okay. All right, so we got Washington or Oregon, Michigan. We'll say Georgia. Let's just say, for the sake of an argument, Florida State loses. So then you have Washington, who's 12-1, Ohio State, who's 11-1. We'll say Texas wins; they're 12-1. Then Alabama's out of the picture since they lost to Georgia. You think they let Washington in too, or you think they let Ohio State?
Texas.
Or Texas? You think Texas?
Yeah, Texas should definitely deserve to go if they win their championship and they've beaten Alabama on the road, which hardly anyone's done in the past 15 years. There's no doubt they should deserve to be in the number 4. That's who it should be. Now, whether they do that or not, I don't know, because they ranked Ohio State ahead of them this week, which makes absolutely zero sense. I mean, I guess you couldn't just plummet Ohio State for losing at Michigan, but it doesn't make sense to have Ohio State just sitting there and not have and make it when Texas has probably the best win of the year, and they've also beaten a couple of other ranked teams. It doesn't make sense for them to not get in, but I don't know. With them ranking them back there, I don't know what they would do with them.
But Ohio State's done that before, though. That year that Penn State beat them and then went on to the Big Ten, won that, but that was only lost.
Huh? Penn State had 2 losses that year, though.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why, if Penn State had 1 loss that year, they would have 100% been in. Texas literally they won at Alabama. They beat Kansas State on the road, or they beat Kansas State at home. They would have beaten Oklahoma State. And there's another, and their losses to Oklahoma, who's 12. I don't know. To me, I would put Texas in. They won their conference in the regular season, and they won their conference championship, and they won at Alabama. I don't see how you could leave them out. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I just don't think Ohio State's that good, honestly. I mean, their defense is all right. Their offense is okay. They don't have C.J. Stroud this year. The only team they beat that was any good was Penn State at home by a touchdown. I mean, They beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame has 3 or 4 losses now. So I just don't think that Ohio State deserves to be in. I would take Texas.
All right. So with that being said, what is your prediction? Doesn't have to be in ranking order, but who are your 4 teams you think get in?
I mean, with your head, Georgia's probably going to win, so they're 1. Michigan is probably going to win, so they're going to be 2. I think your scenario where the most chaos would happen is if Iowa could somehow pull off a miracle, because then that opens it up for so many more teams to have an argument. Like Ohio State would have an argument. If Washington lost, they would have an argument. So that's, if you really want chaos, you want Michigan to lose, but they're not going to. Georgia 1, Michigan 2. I think Oregon's going to win, so
Oregon 3.
I think they're going to be 4. And I just, for some reason, I don't know. I think Florida State's going to eke one out, and because they go undefeated. Yeah. So I would say that Georgia is 1, Michigan 2, Florida State 3, and Oregon 4. And I think that gives us the best semifinals, because I think that Georgia playing Oregon is going to be an amazing game. Even if Georgia wins, I think it's going to be a battle. And then Florida State, even without their starting quarterback, can actually play with Michigan. Florida State without their starting quarterback cannot play with Georgia. They would get murdered, in my opinion. I mean, they would have a month to get ready and stuff, but I just don't think they have a chance against Georgia, just personally. And then Oregon and Michigan would probably be the best game that we'd see. And then, yeah, you might still get a team that could have a chance to beat Georgia, but then they would just had a war and only have a week to prepare. I don't know. Personally, that's what I want to see. I want to see Oregon end up being that 4 seed, so Georgia has to play them first.
Yeah. See, I could see Oregon winning in that, regardless of what Florida State does. If they win or lose, I could see them bumping them to 3. Just for some reason.
They might. They might. Oregon just doesn't have a resume. I mean, they beat USC, but USC's got 5 losses now. They would have beaten Washington, which is a great win, but other than that, they don't have anything. I mean, Oregon State's lost 4 games. They just, I don't know. But I could see it because that win would be really good, and Florida State doesn't have their quarterback, which we can see from last year with UT. I mean, when Hooker went down, basically Tennessee had 0 chance of being anywhere near the top. So I could see it. I could see them putting them at 3. But just personally, I would like to see them come in 4. So because Florida State against Michigan would give me somebody to root for against Michigan, because I can't stand Michigan either. So yeah. I don't know. I just don't want Oregon to play, because I know Florida State Florida State's a good team, but without Travis, they got no chance against Georgia, in my opinion. I mean, I've been proven before, but
I
I
don't
just
think
don't
they
think
have
they
a
can move the
chance
ball in
against
Georgia with it.
anybody in the top five. Well, I guess the
Yeah,
other
see,
four.
I think they would have a shot against Michigan. I just think they would have a shot against
Think
Michigan.
so?
Michigan's good, but they're not dynamic on offense. They run the ball really good, but they don't do anything other than that. They play solid defense and they run the ball. They can throw the ball a little bit, but we saw against Ohio State, they didn't push the ball downfield at all. It was throws over the middle and off the play action. So I don't know. I mean, the best scenario would be for Louisville to beat Florida State. I just deep down don't see it happening. Because if Florida State loses, then you're going to get three teams that legitimately could beat Georgia. Texas might be in. Washington might sneak in. Like somebody's going to be in there. Two teams are going to be in there that can beat Georgia. So that's really all I'm looking for personally. I mean, for somebody to
Yeah.
beat Georgia, I don't want them to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only for sure. I mean, the winner of I don't know. I think there's three for sure here. I think Georgia's going to win. So I think they're in. Michigan's going to win. They're in. I think the winner of Washington, Oregon's in. So that's three for sure. That fourth spot is just the weird one. Like, say Oregon beats Washington by a field goal, like similar to what happened last time. Florida State, we'll just say wins. I don't know if they keep Washington out on that. Like, do they think Florida State's better? It just really depends if they go down to not deserving, but the best teams. Like, you take everything into consideration, injuries, all that stuff. With Jordan Travis, yeah, 100%, they're deserving. They scored the points, they have the resume, etc. But for me, I think it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, because I think Oregon's going to win. And then if Texas wins convincingly, like by at least a touchdown, I think they'll bump them in unless Washington loses on a heartbreaker, like a last-second field goal or going for two and not getting it, something like that. Just I don't know. I think, and I think Florida State's going to lose. I think Louisville's going to edge them. Ohio State, I don't really think has a dog in the fight unless lots of these teams lose this weekend. Which
Yeah, like
really,
if all four teams off.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, best case scenario is I don't want Georgia in, but I don't want Alabama in either. But if I had to pick between two, I would say Alabama. But if Alabama wins, I just think they'll put them both in. I just know how their minds work. I just don't think they'll keep the team out who's won it back to back and going for three out after losing to the hottest team in college football in Alabama for some reason. So, but I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, hopefully we get a lot of things that we want. Maybe Alabama and Georgia will both miss it. That would be the perfect ending.
Well, I think that's going to involve some kind of stadium collapsing or something. There's no way they're both going to get left out. So,
I mean, the only way they would get left out is if Alabama beat Georgia, Texas wins, Michigan wins, Washington wins, and Florida State wins. I think that would be the only way. Because people would lose their mind if that last spot came down to Alabama, Texas, and Georgia, with Alabama beating Georgia, Texas beating Alabama, and then Georgia not having a win over either one of them. If they put Alabama in and that's or Georgia like over Texas, I don't know. But like I said, I feel like since they've been doing the playoffs, I don't know if they've really had the best four teams there. I think they always get three of the best, but that fourth spot is always weird. That's why I can't wait for them to expand it next year.
Yeah, the 12-team playoffs are going to be great. God, I would be jumping for joy if Alabama and Georgia were 5 and 6. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Be the most fun I've ever had watching the playoffs.
Yeah. Be the first time one of them wasn't in it, right?
No, that year LSU won it. Nope, neither of them were in it. It was glorious.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
But other than that, yeah, Alabama or Georgia's been in the playoff every single year. Alabama was in at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Weren't in at 19. They were in at 20. I think they were 21. Were they in at 21?
What was the year that they played Alabama in the national championship?
21. And
21.
they weren't in it last year. So Alabama's not been in the playoff 2 of the 9 years or 2 of the 10 years, whatever.
Imagine that.
Yeah. I'd crawl on broken glass to get in it once.
Yeah. I would too. God.
But we can talk about it next week whenever it comes out because we won't have any games to talk about, so we can just talk about that and some of the matchups.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's roll into a little bit of NFL. I mean, not too much has been going on. I mean, Browns are without Watson, Bengals without Burrow. Those are some big hits for them. But looking
Steelers without Canada.
Yeah, Steelers fire Canada. So let's get a round of applause for that.
God, they finally saw your tweets. Holy cow!
Yeah,
they saw your tweets.
After 58 games, however many years that equates to, they finally eclipsed 400 yards of offense. So now it just more than 30 points.
Deontay Johnson was given big time effort on that fumble. I mean, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I can't wait till he's out of our organization. I hope we trade him over the offseason, truthfully.
Trade him extension.
Huh?
He's getting an extension.
No, they signed him for 2 years this past year. And, buddy, he's got 1 touchdown in 3 years. That's terrible. I don't care how good he is at running routes. When he drops the ball and fumbles and then does lack of effort stuff like that, like, I don't want that on my team.
I just want to know how their offense went from being literally like putting up 50 points a game and unstoppable with the most immobile quarterback of all time that just somehow wouldn't get tackled. And then the Brown and Bell and all these guys, and now it's like 13-10, 12-7. Like, how did they not score?
Even without them, like his last year, like we were scoring a lot of points, and it's with basically the same players. We had Juju instead of Pickens, so we had Juju Johnson, Freiermuth his last year. Najee was a rookie. Who were other wide receivers? I think we had. Trying to think of that. Wheaton wasn't there the last year. Dang. Trying to think of his name. Went to Oklahoma State. Then he went to the Cowboys after us. War number 13. God, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, James Washington.
James Washington, yeah. Had him. We had Miles Boykin. I don't know. I mean, Ben, obviously, Hall of Fame quarterback, like, can sling it with the best of them for sure. But, I mean, this past week, the one thing that we changed that was different from when Canada was there is we threw the ball over the middle of the field. And we hardly ever did that unless it was like a deep shot downfield on like a little cross or a flag route or something. But, we fed Freiermuth the entire game, and that was kind of our bread and butter as far as getting first downs and moving the ball up the field when we needed to. And then, hitting those typical back shoulder passes on the sidelines to Pickens or Johnson, which is what Canada did for the majority of the time. But I don't know. We even ran the ball better. Like we ran the ball good the past 2 weeks with Canada, but I don't know. I mean, our offense definitely looks better. I hope we continue it. I hope it wasn't, kind of a one game thing, but we've got a favorable schedule to do well. But other than that, I mean, Eagles, they're still 10-1. They've got the best record in the league. They play the 49ers this week. That's going to be a tough one. Chiefs are 8-3. I think the Ravens are first in the AFC right now, and Eagles are first in the NFC. So, there's a lot of teams in the AFC that are on that little bubble, like 1 to 2 game mark of being in or out. So, if that continues, it's going to come down to that last week, and some starters might be playing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of up in the air AFC for sure. I mean, the NFC, a lot of teams are kind of getting back in the playoff race because those teams at the bottom just can't separate, like the Vikings and some of those teams are allowing some teams to get back in it. But in the AFC, I mean, it's kind of I mean, you're going to have probably 10 wins to get in the playoffs at a minimum. So a lot of teams that are really, really strong at the top of the AFC. I mean, the Ravens are 8-3, the Chiefs are 8-3, the Dolphins are 8-3. I mean, nobody before the year would have said the Dolphins were going to be potentially running away with the AFC East. Now the Bills are 6-6. I mean, so a lot of good teams in the AFC. The playoffs are going to be really fun to watch, especially in the AFC, because I mean, all 7 teams legit probably will have a chance to beat each other. So the top is starting to separate, but not separating from amongst themselves. I mean, there's a lot of teams that still have a chance at that number 1 right now. So it's been a fun season with a lot of parity to this point.
Oh yeah. I just thought about doing this. So Patrick and I and a couple of our other friends, we are in a Survivor League where you pick a team every week. So week 1, you pick a team in the NFL to win. So I think we picked the Jaguars. So they won. So after that week, we could no longer use the Jaguars going forward. We had to pick somebody new the next week to win. They just have to win. They don't have to cover the spread, any of that mess. So we are in week 13 of the NFL. It's down to 3 people. We have, our pick, and then there's 2 others. So here's the teams we have available to pick from. We have the Bucks, the Texans, the Rams, the Falcons, the Colts, the Jets, the Eagles, the Browns, the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Patriots, the Packers, the Bengals, and the Commanders. Do us a favor. Go look at the spreads, the games for this week. Tell us who you think is going to win. Who you think out of all those teams, if you had to pick one team that's for sure going to win out of those ones I just listed off, who you think is going to win. And we'll let you know who we end up picking, whether we take some advice or not, and we will see how that goes from there. I think I know who we're leaning towards, but I'll keep that in our pocket for now, and then let everybody know how that goes after this week and see how it turns out. But after this week, it's going to be gritty if we survive.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's lasted this long, but somehow still have a entry that's made it this far. So we'll see if we can repeat back to back.
Yeah, we won it last year, I think, and there's like almost 200 entries last year and this year. So come down to that 13 week 13 is it's nuts, but hopefully we find a way. We'll see. Let's see, is there any other NFL or anything else you want to brush up on?
Not really. I know that Rodgers started practicing again today, so
Yeah,
I
so
wish
he's in
the
a 21-day window.
Jets could have found a way to like win one of the 3 toss-up games they've had the last few weeks, so that he would have a chance to get in that wild card. Because I mean, if he gets back, it's going to completely change their team. I mean, even if he doesn't have mobility like he normally does, I mean, he's such a better player and just can read the defense and get them in the right plays. And they have some playmakers on offense, Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson and Lazard, and their tight end Conklin's pretty solid, and their defense is good enough. They cannot do anything on offense because Wilson cannot move the ball, and now they've got that Boyle guy playing. He can't move the ball either. So how fast can he get ready to play, and can the Jets steal a game or two while he's getting back ready to play? Because I mean, they're 4-7.
They're 3 games back.
You probably would have to get to 9-8 to make the playoffs in the AFC. So that means they basically could lose one more game, probably. Maybe they're 4-6. No, they're 4-7. Maybe they could probably afford to lose like one more game. So like if they get to be 4-10, would he really come back and play, or would he just wait till next year? I wish I don't know who they have this week. I haven't looked at the schedule yet. I think it's somebody they can beat though.
Falcons. It's kind of tough.
Yeah. I mean, they can beat the Falcons at home without if Wilson or Boyle, whoever they play, won't just throw the other team the ball 4 times. So hopefully they can win a couple games, and then Rodgers can get back out there and make that something fun to watch towards the end of the year. Because I mean, they have a pretty full schedule the rest of the way. I think they only have like one team that they're playing that's like for surefire playoff team. So that's something just to keep an eye on. Rodgers getting back on the field because. I mean, he's 39, so he's probably got a couple more years left in him if he can stay healthy. But it stinks that he got robbed of this season because I think they would have been really good.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's sitting in that 7 spot right now, and
They're 7-4.
yeah,
7-4.
they're 7-4, but their schedule's not really easy the rest of the way. So I don't know. I think the Steelers will win just based on their schedule. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I just don't see them. They've got they got two back to back. They have the Cardinals and the Patriots. They should win both those. That would put them at 9 wins. And then they play the Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, and Ravens. They'll win. They should for sure win at least one of those. That would put them at 10. I think 10 wins you should be in regardless. I think that's the
Yeah.
magic number this year. I think that'll put them in. But then the Browns, I don't know. Shoot, I don't know if they'll get to 9. 9 will be tough. I mean, just really depends how far their defense will carry them because when their quarterback plays, just kind of game managing and slowing it down and seeing what they can do. But Houston's at 6-5. They're a game out and they're playing really good right now. Stroud pretty much
Yeah.
is locked up. Rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, and I think truthfully he's the MVP. I mean, I know they're 6-5, but I mean, if you look at that team they had last year to what they have this year, it's almost the same, but swapping quarterbacks, and I mean, he's putting up video game numbers. So, Mahomes is kind of having a down year. There's not really another quarterback with the exception of like Hurts that you can really argue is like having a better year than him on paper.
Yeah, I mean, he's been super impressive. Obviously, they have a lot of weapons around them, and their defense is a little bit better than people thought they would be. So, and they've won some impressive games, like winning at the Bengals whenever they had Burrow still, winning at the Jags, winning against the Steelers at home. So they've beaten some playoff teams. So they're really good, and I think they will be for the foreseeable future. I mean, the guys definitely panned out. It makes you wonder if the Panthers wish they had picked him instead. But Bryce Young, I mean, he's still a good player. The Panthers really don't have much, but
Yeah.
definitely interesting to watch. See if the Texans can make a push here towards the end. Jags beat them this week, so they're kind of a couple games back of them, but still, they'll be right there fighting the rest of the way probably.
I agree. Yeah, but next week we will we'll follow up on the college football conference championship games, and then they'll have selection Sunday this upcoming Sunday, so we'll see who's in the playoffs, and then where that leaves us for bowl games and etc. And talk a little bit about NFL and see where all these teams are falling. See if the Jets could pull one off, keep Rodgers' hopes of playing some meaningful minutes this year kind of intact. I think either way, if he's able to play, he might not rush back as quickly if they lose a couple in a row. But I think he'll play just to kind of get some reps in. But they win 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 3. I think for sure he'll be playing end of this month or end of December. It's not December yet, but basically. So
Yeah, no, that'd be good. I mean, that was one of the things I was wanting to see this year is see him play with them. So hopefully he'll be able to. But we'll see.
yeah, we will see. But I believe that is all we have for this week. Make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we are on TikTok, we are on Spotify and YouTube. You can find our newest episodes on Spotify and YouTube each week. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tune in next time.